Welcome in, YCN Sports Talk. Jeremy Stout joined by Andrew Zerhide. And Andrew, thanks for coming back.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks for having me, Jeremy.
We are almost to spring training, or we're in spring training, almost to opening day, a couple weeks, and we'll get to some Red Sox. I know you're a big Red Sox fan, so we'll get to that. We've got the March Madness basketball tournament set to go on Thursday. We'll get to that, but we'll start it off with some hot stove in the NFL, I guess you could call it. New England Patriots, busy offseason, and it got even busier with the signing of Hightower, just announced today on Wednesday. But let's get right into the first big move. Stephon Gilmore, cornerback, free agent signing from Buffalo. First of all, what do you think that does to this team? And then we'll get into how it affects Malcolm Butler.
Well, I think it's a great signing for the Pats. You knew you were going to lose at least one of your cornerbacks with Logan Ryan and Malcolm Butler. Obviously, Logan Ryan is gone now. He's on the Titans. So, I mean, it's a big signing. It's kind of pretty unique for the Patriots to do that. They usually don't go after big free agents with these big contracts, but I believe they signed him to a 5-year deal worth $65 million.
Yeah, big money.
And he was one of the top cornerbacks. I think he's 6'1" about. He's one of the bigger cornerbacks.
Big guy, yeah.
So, I mean, they filled a big hole. I think it's a good signing. If they can keep Malcolm Butler, their secondary is going to be very good.
Yeah, a couple things that you mentioned, the big contract, a 2-year guarantee, so you know how. But you're right, it was surprising that the Patriots would go out and give somebody who's a good cornerback, but he also has been inconsistent in times. That was the big knock on him. He's been inconsistent, but he is big, and that's what they need because Butler's not a huge guy. So they get him for a couple of years. What does that do for Malcolm Butler? Or there was talk that he might get traded to the Saints. He hasn't signed his tender agreement yet. But if they can get him back for $3.9 million or whatever it is, it's a pretty big steal, and they've got a really, really solid set of cornerbacks then.
Right, yeah, and Butler's an unrestricted free agent. Not the same thing at all. It's just, or he's a restricted free agent.
Right, it's a little different.
It's different than an unrestricted free agent. And so right now they have him for $3.9 million if he's going to be on the Pats this coming season. And it's kind of a question about what to do with him. I think they should pay him the money. I think they should sign him long term. He's proved he can play. He steps up in big moments, obviously against the Seahawks. He made a number of nice plays against the Falcons. But he's a really good player. He is a little undersized. That's the one thing you're concerned about. But I think he's proven he can play. When he matches up against teams' number one wide receivers, he has a little bit of a hard time. But now you have Gilmore to do that.
Right, who's the bigger one.
Right, who's the bigger one, and then you can move Butler over to their number 2. So. And
I wonder if maybe what they're going to do is, so you have Gilmore for 2 years, guaranteed, so they keep him. If they keep Butler for this year, $3.9 million, and then they franchise tag him next year possibly, then they've got him for 2 years, and then at that point you see if it's worth paying Butler long-term or picking up Gilmore's options. I mean, that might be a situation that they could do, but either way, it appears that... do you think, kind of shifting gears a little bit, are they going for it big because they know Brady's going to be done sooner rather than later, despite what he wants to do, keep playing?
Yeah, I mean, all signs are pointing towards that. I mean, Bill Belichick has loved to have a lot of draft picks, and as of right now, they don't have a ton.
Right.
So it really looks like Belichick's really gearing up, kind of going all in for the next couple of years, trying to get the most out of Brady. I mean, to me, it looks like they're going to try to win it all. They always try to win it all every year. But
they're really going for it this year.
It looks like they're really going all in.
And then you go to the offensive side of the ball. We've been talking the defensive side. Go to the offensive side. Brandon Cooks, a big-time wide receiver, 23 years old, back-to-back 1,100-yard seasons. And he is really... I don't want to say he's underrated, but I don't think a lot of people know how good this guy is. And he's young. He's a speedster. Good compliment to some of their wide receivers they already have.
Yeah, very good compliment, and I think he has gone under the radar. I heard a stat recently that there's only 2, besides Brandon Cooks, there's only 2 other wide receivers who in their first 2 years posted 1,000-plus yards, 8 receiving touchdowns, and I think like 78 receptions, and those guys are Odell Beckham Jr. and Antonio Brown.
Okay, so not a bad company.
Yeah, right, and he's really is on that level. But I think a lot of people, he's flown under the radar for the most part, so that's a huge trade.
I wonder if it's because, they go, obviously, not as big name as the two that you mentioned, and you wonder if the Saints, being that they're always about offense, so do people think that, well, it's just Drew Brees and it's just the system, or does this guy really have the talent? Might that be why he's been under the radar?
Yeah,
I don't know.
It could be. Drew Brees is a great quarterback.
Right, not taking anything away from Drew Brees.
Right. But I think their system is a little different. I think he'll definitely flourish under the Pat system. They're obviously a pocket passing team, so I think he's going to fit in very well.
Before we go, we got to take a break. But do you think now, because they don't have the draft picks, will they trade Garoppolo for some draft picks? Do you think that maybe makes it more likely?
I think it makes it more likely.
Yeah,
definitely.
That's what I was thinking.
I think they'll get at least one first-round draft pick if they trade him. So I think this definitely points to Garoppolo getting traded for sure.
There's still a lot to go. Obviously, more offseason, the draft coming up, but Belichick always has something up his sleeve, so we'll wait to see what happens. We'll take a break. When we come back, we'll go to Florida, Fort Myers, where the Red Sox are about to break camp in a couple weeks, and some news on their starting pitching staff. We'll come right back. You're watching YCN Sports Talk.